Hello, good evening to all, and welcome to this week's edition of the Shankly Gates Podcast, where we'll be looking at Liverpool's win over Norwich yesterday evening, and also be looking back at our win against Inter Milan in the Champions League midweek, and also looking ahead towards our game against Leeds United. And for that, I'm joined by Kieran and Dan this week. So, Kieran, how are we doing?
Yeah, I got myself.
Yeah, all good. Dan, how about you?
Yeah, can't complain, mate. You?
Yeah, all good. All excited to get into this. So we'll start with you then, Kieran. Norwich, I think we talked about last week saying that it would be a difficult game, but we also predicted that we'd get a big positive result out of it. It seemed like it wasn't going to go that way at first. So we'll talk about the team selection going into it. Quite a few changes Klopp made. No fullbacks in there. The front three wasn't the same, and neither was a midfield either. So what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was an interesting one, wasn't it? I mean, we all knew. I spoke about last week. If there was a game to rotate, it was going to be this one. So I wasn't expecting some rotation, but I mean, both fullbacks. We speak about how it's integral they are. I know we have to give them a rest, but we obviously sent Neco Williams on loan to Fulham. Joe Gomez hasn't had a lot of football at all, and that's what worried me. Because there's such a drop off in level between Trent and Gomez, and it was evident there. We did okay. Kept the ball where we should. Was frustrating at times. Games just sort of the crowd weren't really getting going. It was quite an even game when Norwich got the goal when they did. You couldn't really argue about it. But you still fancied us with with the team put out with that that front three is going to excite anyone. Seeing Diaz, Mane, and Salah, you'd have thought, irrespective of who we've got behind them, at least we can try and outscore them. So in the end, we got the job done. But you can clearly see the drop off between the first team and the other players. I mean, in particular, Joe Gomez and Oxlade-Chamberlain as well. It wasn't really at it at all, and it was you definitely you could see it when the class of Thiago came on. I mean, you can see the difference between them two is immense. But you can't really argue. It's another important 3 points, and obviously with other results going our way, it's it could be a massive weekend in our season.
Dan, how about you? What are your thoughts on the team that Klopp put out?
Yeah, I was surprised it was so heavily rotated. I think obviously I didn't get on with you guys last week, but you've just alluded to there, Kieran. I think everyone expected rotation. With so many fixtures coming up just on the back of the Inter Milan game as well, I think we all thought this was a good opportunity to. Simicast was like a natural rotation for me, for Robertson. That makes plenty of sense. The front three a little bit, obviously with Jota's injury as well. But the right back one was probably the most interesting one, in my opinion, because I think leaving Trent out the squad entirely looked like a bit of an oversight for about an hour. Because if you have him on the bench, he's almost that insurance policy where obviously not having him in the squad at all kind of meant we lacked the whole game at right back. And I actually think Milner would have been a better bet than Gomez because Joe Gomez is a very good centre-half. But he's a very good centre-half. He's not a right-back. Certainly in an attacking sense. In a game whereby we had a lot of the ball, we really missed some creativity from right-back. And for as much as Milner isn't Trent Alexander-Arnold, he is a midfielder who can make things happen. So I thought it was an interesting team selection. It wasn't my preferred team selection, although it was very difficult to pick because of the rotation side of things like we spoke about. In terms of obviously what it meant for Klopp's thoughts on Norwich, I don't think it was particularly. I don't think he was playing them down because he always speaks about the threats from every side in the Premier League, and Norwich are a threat, and certainly at the minute because they're playing well. I just thought he felt like out of the fixtures we have over the next few weeks, this was the one opportunity he had to really make some wholesale changes and probably just get away with it, and that's what we did.
Well then, Dan, I'll stick with you as well then. With the changes that were made, what did you make of our first half performance then?
Really average. I thought we just lacked rhythm. But when it's a side that obviously hasn't played together a lot, isn't it? Let's be honest. But at the same time, with the quality of the players that are on the pitch, you do expect a little bit more. I felt like Joe Gomez, you can always give that bit of leeway. I think it was his first start in 20 months, I'm right in saying. Maybe 15, something crazy. Anyway, 15 months, like more accurate. That's ridiculous. The first Premier League start in that long is crazy for him. Plus, he's at right back. So, for me, the biggest disappointment was Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, because I felt like he was playing really well a few weeks ago. And he's had this little spell out the side. And I've been saying he's probably been hard done by to not be included recently. And then he does that yesterday. And it felt like everything he tried didn't come off. And it also felt a bit like he was so determined to make an impact on the game, like leave with that goal of assist. So Klopp has to consider him for the next match, that he was almost overthinking everything. And everything he did, like I say, just failed. And it was a really bad hour for him. In a game, another opportunity whereby he had a chance to stake a claim and he's probably missed it. So, but overall, like, they were the two sort of glaring weaknesses. But overall, we were a little bit off the pace for 45 minutes, I thought. So, not a great half of football, but there we go.
What about you then, Kieran? What were your thoughts on our first half performance?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't good, was it? But it was kind of to be expected with the side we put out, the way they haven't, played with each other at all. So as it was dragging on, it was just becoming a lot more frustrating. We were, as Dan alludes to there, especially with Oxlade-Chamberlain, we just weren't doing the basics. The basics are just keeping the ball. At times it was, it was a really hard watch. I thought, certainly the first hour, I thought Norwich defended very well. Certainly, the couple of standouts there, we spoke about him, touched on him last week. Max Aarons, I thought, when it was Mane or Diaz on that left-hand side, they got absolutely no joy out of him whatsoever. And I thought Grant Hanley was superb as well for them. But obviously, we will touch on it later. I think the substitutes absolutely turned the game. I thought it was a stroke of brilliance, really. There's a bit left field. You see Origi come on, you think, what's his thinking here? But to me, when he came on, we had, the four forwards on. I thought they lost the plot. They didn't have a clue what to do, who to mark. So it became easy from then on in. But before then, especially when they go 1-0 up, you think to yourself, have we shot ourselves in the foot here? Have we made too many changes of what should have been a comfortable routine home win, which it was in the end, but for a while it looked like it might not go our way.
That's not the first time we've talked about a Divock Origi coming on as a masterstroke, and I'm sure it won't be the last either. But the goal then that Norwich scored, defensively, you could probably nitpick it and say that a lot more could have been done. For me, I think Gomez needs to get out to him, but obviously in the end it is a mistake and obviously unfortunate to go in the end. But we'll talk about Liverpool's response. I'll stay with you then, Kieran. Do you think that was largely down to the substitutions that were then made?
Yeah, 100%, mate. And if it followed on from, we'll talk about in a minute, the Inter Milan game, where I think Klopp got those subs absolutely spot on as well. I sat there at half time and texted my dad and I said the subs that I think he'll make here will be Ox and Cater off. And, that's exactly what he did. And when he brought Origi on, which, it felt a bit of a left field choice, but, as it showed, I thought Norwich I don't think they prepared for that, because they didn't seem to have the sort of relative control he had in, the previous hour. And when the goal did come, it was a massive relief, really. You could tell. Usually you celebrate a goal against, Norwich in a Saturday 3:00. It's, obviously a cheer, but it was a proper roar. It was right, come on, let's get into these. And then after that, they crumbled to pieces a bit. We were all over them. So I think for me, the substitute 100%. Klopp once again got the decision spot on, because if he doesn't, we could still win the game, but those changes made a massive difference yesterday, I thought.
Dan, what about you? On here, we've been quite critical of Klopp and his substitutions and either them coming too late or the wrong person coming on. Yeah. But as Kieran mentioned there, quite a few times in the past few weeks, he seems to be getting it right.
He does, yeah. And I wonder whether that's a direct impact of having a better squad available to him, quite frankly. Because at times, it's been horses for courses in terms of who's available to get into a first 11, let alone a bench. And you do look at our bench occasionally and think, who's going to change the game? And especially when he overlooks Minamino time and time again, potentially rightly so, because he's a good player. Is he a game changer off the bench? Probably not. So I do think the substitutions having more of an impact in recent weeks has been the case because of the strength we've suddenly got. But yeah, there's no doubt about it. One of Klopp's weakest areas, really, if he has one, during his Liverpool tenure, because we've always got a nitpick on something, haven't we, as Liverpool fans? And it's part of what we do in terms of talking about it. He's been an absolute genius since he arrived at the club, but substitutions pretty much from day one have probably been his weakest area. I think he's very much a manager that believes in the side he's put out there and has total faith in them players to do the job, that sometimes that faith can go too far, by which I mean sort of 60 minutes you think, go on, and then 70 and he hasn't done it yet, and then 80 might finally do that, and it's too late by then. But recently, that hasn't been the case. He's been changing games, not just in terms of subs, but also yesterday, he changed the formation. You've probably seen Thiago come on and give it the 4-4-2.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably the most attacking 4-4-2 in the history of football. Because as Kieran alludes to there's 4 forwards there in terms of Salah and Mane out wide and Diaz and Origi. That's a frightening front four. But it is a 4-4-2. So that subtle change in the game as well just gives Norwich a different problem. And they couldn't cope for half an hour, could they?
No, not at all. So we'll talk about Mane's goal. I thought we tracked back a bit. Did a bit of a disservice not mentioning it. But overhead kick from Sadio Mane. I know Klopp mentioned in his press conference that Mane's been going for the overhead kicks this week. But Mane scoring his goal back from the AFCON. Kieran, what did you make of that?
Yeah, well, it was timely, wasn't it? Probably not the greatest execution of overhead kick you'll see. But it doesn't matter, does it? He's in the right place at the right time. It's the target. A massive goal. Coming back from AFCON, be full of confidence, won't he? So not surprising he's trying all these overhead kicks. I think he tried another one. I'm not sure if it was into Milan in the first half of the Norwich game itself. But yeah, as a man who's full of confidence, found himself in the right position, was not really marked either, which I thought was very surprising. Obviously, the ball got worked down the left, and the ball sort of come over the fullback to him, and he seemed to be in acres of space, which you can't give most players in the Premier League, let alone Sadio Mane. Was did not the best execution you'll ever see, but it was enough to get it past him, the keeper, and from then on there went from strength to strength. But that's a typical Mane finish. That's what he's about. Instinct. He'll just he won't have thought about it. He thought, right, there's the ball, bang, overhead kick and in. So that's what I'd say a Sadio Mane type of goal, and one that we desperately needed.
Well, you mentioned that it was desperately needed, and it seemed to sort of reignite us. And Alisson Becker, the man, the myth and legend, absolutely love the man. And he showed again yesterday why he is so important to this football club. I'll start with you, Dan. Not only does he save us time and time again, but he goes and decides to boot the ball a good 70 yards to Mo Salah and give him one of the most beautiful assists I think I've seen. Obviously, we will talk about Capello as well as comments in the week that Liverpool aren't the same team as they used to be, and that it's largely down to the fact that our defence is having to do a lot of the work, and that Alisson Becker seems to be the one getting man of the match every single week. But when he's putting performances in like that, what do you make of it then?
Well, the man's world class, isn't he? And he's got all the attributes your modern day goalkeeper needs. Distribution obviously being a key part of that. It's very similar to a goal we scored against another football club a couple of years ago. Can't quite remember who it was.
No, I can't either.
It was Alisson to Salah, and then Salah scored. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, they're brilliant. Yeah, absolutely top class. To have not just the execution of it, but to have the instinct and the wherewithal to play that pass, to see the opportunity is first class as well, because that's the first part of it, isn't it? Because most goalkeepers in that situation take the ball and have a look for the left or right back and they play from there. But Alisson's got that instinct to go, let's have a look where Salah's off to, because he knows if he finds him, Salah's got the quality to bring it down and finish like he did. And listen, the whole goals, all 3 goals, to touch on Mane as well, a top draw, they really are. But Alisson's pass, and obviously we're going to touch on him in a minute, but Alisson this season's been outstanding, absolutely outstanding. And yesterday was no exception.
What about you then, Kieran? What are your thoughts on Alisson?
Mate, sensational once again. I mean, as we know from last season, scoring goals, saving goals, assists, he does everything, doesn't he? And when we reckon up at the end of the year, I spoke a couple of weeks about who our player of the season will be, and I said it between Salah and Jota. You have to put Alisson in there now, up 100%. He has to come into it. The amount of times he keeps us in the game is, second to none. Goalkeeping's world class. And then, his assist for yesterday, if you'd have asked Norwich before the game, how are you going to concede a goal today? I don't think a ball over the top from the goalkeeper would have been, high on the list. I know we play long, diagonals from Van Dijk out to the left and right, but a straight ball over the top, it just perfect. Salah run onto it, wonderful touch. Salah takes an age to go in, it felt like, but, fantastic. But, Alisson himself, he just seems to get better and better. Like, you don't think he's going to improve, but he's just that solid goal that we've craved for years, really, since Pepe Reina. I think probably the last one where you felt safe and secure of the man in goal. But yeah, as Dan said, it's not the first time he's done it. And I doubt it'll be the last. Could happen this season. He's only one assist behind Jack Grealish, so every chance of 11, I think.
Well, he sets up Salah's 150th goal, and then Luis Diaz goes and scores his first goal in a Liverpool shirt. I'll stick with you there, Kieran. Can we see Luis Diaz becoming another impact signing like Diogo Jota after his performance yesterday?
Oh, I'll tell you what, that'd be good, wouldn't it? I mean, you look at it, even if he makes half of the impact Jota's made, I think we're onto a good one. That's how good Jota's been. But it's, fantastic for him to get off the mark as well. That's, one thing every player wants when they join a new club. Relatively early on, he got his first assist, against Cardiff in the FA Cup. But to get his first goal as well, that, we talk about, confidence, and with Mane, that, that's going to skyrocket his confidence as well. But I think we do have to mention, once again, the ball in from Henderson. That's not, and that's not the first time he's done that this season. I can think of a few, Watford away, Man United away, where, he's just so underrated. It goes past unnoticed, but again, that ball's world class into him. It just makes it easy for Diaz just to run onto it and to slide it past the goalkeeper. So I think, that deserves mentioning, but absolutely made up for him. In terms of the game, I thought, he was okay, didn't get much joy until Origi came on, and then it looked a completely different game just from the formation change and the fact that, Aarons and Hanley, who'd maintained them well up to then, just, as we've said, completely lost the plot. But, home goal, and cop end as well, that'll do massive wonders for him. And like I say, if he makes half the impact shots as made, I think we're in for, a very good, next year or so.
What about you then, Dan? What did you make of Luis Diaz's first goal for Liverpool?
Yeah, brilliant finish. And I was really impressed with him. I have been really impressed with him since he arrived, obviously. And I think that goal's been coming, hasn't it? He's hit the ground running. He's gone close a few times. He went close yesterday before he scored, actually, with his right foot. He's very double-footed, isn't he? Very double-footed, which is a positive sign. I think Kieran alludes to, they're obviously playing that different role yesterday towards the end. That shows he's got that bit of versatility as well, which is helpful. Because previously at Porto, he pretty much only operated from the left. So to have him playing in different roles is nice so early on. For me, it's going to sound like sensationalist and almost mad. I think he could be better than Jota for us. Not so much in terms of goal scoring, because I don't think he's got that sort of striker's instinct that Jota's got. But Jota didn't have that when he arrived. Jota was a very different footballer we signed. He seemed to become this lethal goal scorer, this fox in the box type player almost, who's incredible in the air and so on and so forth since he's been at Liverpool. Diaz will offer different things to that. But the way he started, the way he presses, the way he can run with the ball, I am absolutely... I don't know if I'm falling over a new signing slightly, which wouldn't be the first time. But I've been and I was impressed yesterday. Kieran touches on like things didn't really come off him yesterday, which is probably fair enough. And Max Evans did a really good job on him. But in terms of sort of his efforts to make things happen and his endeavour, and I know we touched on it with Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain earlier, but it's a different sort of level of quality there, in my opinion. But in Luis Diaz, you just saw someone who's so hungry to make an impression. And I think we've got a real gem. And the finish yesterday was, like I say, it was exquisite. The pass from Jordan Henderson's top notch as well. So it's capped off a really good first fortnight. And that's all it is for Luis Diaz. We forget he arrived barely speaking the word of English, and I'm not sure he still does now. But then he played like a day later. He'd been in Liverpool. He'd been on Merseyside for like 24 hours. So it's still so early in his career, and he's already showing signs of fitting straight into this Liverpool side.
Well, that goal capped off a wonderful win for us. 3 points that, after watching the Man City game, is even more important to us now. Dan, I'll stay with you. In your own words, how important is it that we won that Norwich game?
Oh, it was huge. It was absolutely huge, because any slip up, essentially, that's not true. And we backtrack. Any slip up in that kind of fixture between now and the end of the season is done. Because if you drop points to Norwich at home, with all due respect to Norwich, and they'll say the same thing, like they weren't travelling up or across that 55-hour drive across the country yesterday with hopes of getting anything for Liverpool. They were hoping to keep the score down, if we're going to be honest with you. And they did that, and they were very respectable. So if Liverpool dropped points in a game like that, that would have been done. And obviously, in the back of our mind, I think that was the second time since sort of October that we've played before City. So in the back of everyone's mind, we're all thinking, oh, God, 3 points today, and there's that little bit of amped up pressure on them later. That's how it proved, obviously. But if we had a drop points, City go into that Tottenham game on cloud 9, 3-8 essentially, and it would have been such a psychological blow that I think we'd have seen a good old-fashioned social media meltdown if we'd have dropped points yesterday, even a draw. So it was pivotal that we got all 3. And just to keep that, we're on the crest of a wave at the minute, aren't we, really? I know we've had a couple of niggling injury things in the last couple of days that are a shame, but generally things are going really well for this side at the minute. And anything less than a win yesterday would have been a real kick in the teeth. How
about you, Kieran? How big was that win yesterday?
Huge, mate. Massive. As Dan says, you can't drop points in those games. They're not the ones to do it, especially again, as Dan said, playing before City to set a marker down. Because I've not seen a team, especially lead the way, look, to be that scared. That they're still a decent way clear and still very much favourites. No one's questioning that. But looking at them, we've got under them. Yeah, they asked Guardiola in the week. They beat Sporting Lisbon 5-0 in the Champions League, and they were asking anyone particularly worry, and he brought our name up. So Liverpool Football Club live rent free in their minds again. I think we're there to challenge. We've got to a stage now where a couple of weeks ago, you just said we'd have got to here, and Liverpool it's in our hands, which you can't ask for anything more. If we win every game more than 99%, we win the league. So you can't ask for anything more than that. So it's vital that we won yesterday, and we'll speak about it in a minute. It'll be vital again when we play Leeds on Wednesday. So it's the same sort of scenario, team, down towards the bottom. A game that we have to win. We do that, we heap even more pressure on them, and that's all we can do at the minute. We've still very much second favourites, but we are creeping ever so slowly closer to them, and the next month or so, I think, is absolutely, it's massive. Well, not just the next month, the rest of the season is massive. But vital. Get the 3 points on the board, and you can see the pressure, because no one expected Tottenham to go there and do anything. Yeah. I was saying to you before, as a stressful day, I was expecting to come home and find City already be 2-0 up, and sort of, have a stress-free evening. But I'm glad it wasn't. So just keep putting the pressure on, and let's see where we can go with this.
Well, let's track back now to midweek. UCL football, wonderful time of year, especially in February. And it was a great night, wasn't it, to play against Inter? I'll start with you, Kieran. Team selection, what did you make of it? Obviously, Harvey Elliott comes in and plays in the Champions League. We had a few changes up top as well. I think we were expecting Luis Diaz to come in too, and Konate coming at the back. So what did you make of those changes that Klopp made?
Yeah, that was a big call on Harvey Elliott, wasn't it? But to be honest, I couldn't really argue with it. I mean, he's, we all love him. Klopp's got massive faith in him, and that's a big, vote of confidence for him. They didn't have the best of games, but I'm not overly surprised if you're making, it was his Champions League debut, I believe.
Yeah.
That's what a place and what a time to make it. So, the lad was very nervous. He tried to get on the ball. He didn't hide at all. Some players would have. Didn't have the best of guy. Could understand them getting brought off in the end. Absolutely no issue with that at all. Team wise, I thought we set up okay. To be honest, we were all right. We were always going to expect a challenge there. You go away from home in Europe, certainly to a team towards the top of Italy. You're always going to be in for a difficult game, and it definitely was. I don't think I've ever seen a team look more threatening without having a shot on target. But if it was very strange, they did pin us in for a bit. But we go back to the Norwich game. The substitutions again were fantastic. Bringing Henderson and Keita on, change the game again. That give us that control. And in the end, we run out 2-0 winners. I thought it was a little bit smash and grab. Maybe that's a bit, a bit disrespectful towards us. Because I thought we stayed in the game well and we played all right. But I mean, to come away from a knockout game, winning 2-0 away, can't ask for anything more than that. The defense stood up with counting. I thought, Konate himself was excellent alongside Van Dijk. He's when we look ahead to the next couple of years, obviously, I think Matip will be moved on. I think we've got a player there in Konate. I think when he steps up and becomes a regular league starter, he's him and Van Dijk for the next couple of years. I think, I'm more than happy with that, mate.
What about you then, Dan? What do you make of our team selection for the game?
Yeah, I was quite happy. No issue with seeing Konate come in like Kieran. I think he's making a habit now, isn't he, of seeming to appear in these huge games. He doesn't play for a couple of weeks, and all of a sudden we have our most difficult fixture on the calendar, and he's in, and he's absolutely fine. He's not fazed by it, and he deals with the situation. It does tend to be whereby the opposition have like a powerhouse striker. Obviously in Edin Dzeko this week. He played against Cristiano Ronaldo, obviously at Old Trafford, and dealt with that situation absolutely fine too. So, been really impressed with Konate. Think he's outstanding. In terms of further up the field, Harvey Elliott was obviously the key talking point. Like Aaron, not overly concerned with the fact he did struggle in the game. I think he found the pace a little bit frantic for him at times. And you could give credit to Inter Milan for that. They never really let him settle on the ball. They were first to a lot of second balls in the midfield generally, not just with Harvey Elliott involved. And I think a lot of the games we've seen him play previous, he's obviously a very attack-minded defender. And that's his sort of go-to modus operandi. Similar to Curtis Jones when he first stepped into the midfield, actually. And I think Harvey Elliott, like Jones, will have to learn that sort of defensive side of the game a little bit more. Because Harvey Elliott spent a year on loan at Blackburn playing as a right winger and scoring goals and assisting. And now all of a sudden he's come back to Liverpool and he's in an attacking role in the midfield, but he will be expected to contribute defensively. And I think he struggled with that against Inter Milan, which is no negative towards him. He's 18-year-old. He's making his Champions League debut in San Siro, and the boy has got so much talent. It's ridiculous. But I just felt like maybe we saw why he isn't quite ready just to go and be unleashed forever. You know what I mean? He's got to play every game from here on out. That might not just be the case yet. We might have to pick and choose when we see him, But yeah, generally speaking, like Kieran said, no issues with the team. probably the sort of team I'd have picked, bar maybe Elliott, and then just the substitutions again changed the entire course of the game, because as much as Kieran's right and Inter Milan, a smash and grab is a little bit detrimental towards ourselves. I think we were better than that. I think Kieran's right on that. But the first half was probably even. There was a 15, 20-minute period at the start of the second half whereby we couldn't get out. So we had to do something. And credit should go to Klopp again for acting on that. And all of a sudden, the whole thing changed.
Well, you mentioned there about that performance in the game. What were your thoughts on the performance then after the substitutions were made and then the goals that we ended up getting?
Yeah, so much better after the changes. Like I say, I think it was, I just alluded to that. The first half was even. We had half chances. They had half chances. They probably had the pick with the Chanogalu hitting the bar. Yeah. That was probably the one you thought. And then, like I say, 15 minutes, second half, they were far better than us. And that was genuinely concerning for a while. I thought they shocked us, really, with how good they were, to be honest with you. But then, like I say, when they made the changes, I think everyone was probably surprised to see Fabinho come off because he's so important to the side. And he was actually really good on the night, I thought, as well. He was popping up all over the place. But the extra legs of Henderson and Keita seem to be the difference. Now, they both offer good quality with the ball. They're not just runners. And we've seen just runners before. They're better than that. But we just seem to be winning more with them second balls. That's what I'm trying to say, because they were Inter Milan for a large part of that game. We're on top in that department, and that's such a key area of any game of football. And when we added Henderson and Keita, we gained control in the midfield then. Thiago will always offer you control in midfield because that's what he is. He's the person who dictates the tempo. But then we had three people who could do that. And all of a sudden, we just had a foothold. And literally, from the moment they got on the pitch, everything changed. And they suddenly couldn't cope with us anymore. And that's how it should have been from the outset. So I don't think Klopp got it wrong. I just think the game panned out in a way he probably didn't expect. And Inter Milan might have been better than we thought. But like I say, credit should go to them for seeing it and acting on it.
Well, Kieran, one of our substitutes, comes on for me, and bags a goal. And it is a goal that helps us going into the second leg. What did you make of the substitutions and how it changed the game?
Yeah, you could tell something had to give, didn't it? Yeah. I mean, we couldn't keep going on. I think in the end, they would have started to get a shot on target for sure. They may have got a goal, so something had to give. But we have waxed lyrical about Fabinho these last few weeks, so you saw his number go up, and you thought, are Henderson and Keita going to, have the impact here? I mean, but fair play to Klopp. You'd probably, maybe question it because you'd have thought Fabinho and Thiago were superb together. But to do that, to take one of them off, to bring Henderson, Keita on, just genius. Just the way the game just flipped like that. Essentially, as Dan said, the control we got from it, and then when we got the goal that we did, another goal from a corner. I mean, I was trying to. It must just. I think Dan said a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure, but we score from. We just get so many corners. Yeah. That's the only thing I'm putting. We just get so many corners that we inevitably score from. Them.
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah, but it's another near post one. When I saw it go in, very reminiscent of the Mane against Villa one, the 2-1 in the last minute. That near post. Just getting into that far corner, but that that's any goal is massive, but certainly away in a knockout game. And then from then Inter didn't have a response. We controlled the rest of the game. We Salah goes and gets a second, and away goals or not, we're in a very, very good position there. So absolutely made up. Even if we wouldn't have got the goal, if we'd have controlled the game and ended 0-0, I think we'd have all been happy to get out there with a 0-0. But the fact we got 2 late goals, and sort of reminiscent to the 2 late goals we got in the home game, when we played them in 2008. I don't think they were quite as late as they were, but that's I'd like to think it's knocked the stuffing out of them. I've seen today they got beat 2-0 by Sassuolo at home in Serie A, so that I think it has had an impact on them. Let's just hope that their heads are still down when they come to Anfield in a couple of weeks' time.
Well, you mentioned there then, Kieran, we got that second goal, and you obviously mentioned so you think that Inter may not have a bit of that attacking potency in the second leg. Do you still think that they have a chance in the second leg? Obviously, we know it's Champions League football. And do you think, obviously, without the away goals rule, do you think there is also opportunity for them to go through now?
Oh, anyone's got a chance. Absolutely. There's they know they've still got to come here. You know, if they win 2-0 after 90 minutes, takes 2 extra time. That's very possible. They'll probably have to come with a different game plan. So how it is at home, just the way we are at home in Europe. That Anfield will be bouncing, so they will have to set up differently. How they want to play, I'm not sure. Maybe they'll try and get an early goal, and then try and make it, try and stay in the game and get a second late on. Depends how they want to play it. But yeah, by no means is this over. I think it will be over as soon, if we get the first goal in the second leg, I think that kills it. Don't think they're coming back. Because even if they get 3 with the away goals, it suits us because we're not out of it because we force extra time then. So, to win with a clean sheet away from home, not necessarily, I don't think the away goals matter that much to us because if they go on and score, like I say, 3-1, we're not knocked out. So it's probably to our advantage. But like I said, this is no means over. But if we can just start on the front foot, get an early goal, that's going to relax the car, and I think it'll be hopefully a pretty, easy even from then. But we can't go into any complacency. They get the first goal, it's game on, mate.
What about you, Dan? What are your expectations for the second leg?
Expectations are that they have to come and play, don't they? There's absolutely no. If they'd have got away with 0-0 or even 1-0. They could have had a whole different approach to this game now, but 2-0, they know they've got to come to Anfield and really try and get on the front foot and take the game to us, which I've said it a million times on this podcast before, suits this Liverpool side down to the ground. Yeah. Absolutely. If Inter Milan had got any remnants of a positive result in the San Siro, that would have been really tricky because they'd have been able to sit deep. They play 5 at the back anyway. If they'd have made that even more negative, that'd have been a difficult evening for us. As it is, that's a real killer blow for Inter Milan. Like they look shell-shocked to me by the end of it, to be honest. Especially when the second goal went in. If you looked at the faces, I think Arturo Vidal in particular had a face on him that just suggested we've been in this game, very much in this game. And if anything, we potentially should be slightly ahead. And instead, we're 2-0 down. What has just happened? Like that's the marker of there's levels, isn't there? There's levels to football at the minute. And as good as Inter Milan are, and they are a very good side, they're obviously missing Pereira, who I think is a huge miss for them in midfield. Yeah. But Serie A at the moment, we've seen it now by playing AC Milan and Inter Milan, both in the San Siro. I don't want to speak too soon with the second leg ahead. But Liverpool and Man City in particular in this Premier League are probably a notch above that. And that's how it looked to me the other night. Because even though we weren't at our best, we found a way to win 2-0 away in Europe in the San Siro. And that's how Inter Milan looked. And that will have an impact on the second leg, in my opinion. Because they'll come and they'll know in the heart of hearts that they're right up against it now. And they'll be thinking, even before they get to Merseyside, to Liverpool, they'll be thinking, we're banging trouble here. They'll give it a good go. But like Atletico Madrid in the second game at Anfield recently, when they had to come and play, and all of a sudden we just took the game away from them, 3-0. Not in the knockout, in the group I'm talking about. Don't talk about that knockout game ever again. We could do that to Inter Milan because they've got to come and get a result, and that isn't what they want to do at Anfield. So for me, it's all in our favour. I'm not going to say tie is done, but if you really dig deep into sort of the pragmatic of what's going to happen in this game, we are 95% in that next round.
Well, I know you don't want to say that the tie's done, but I will ask for your score prediction then, Dan, with all that in mind. So what are you going for the second leg?
I'll go for 3-0 because like Kieran said a minute ago, I think, and like I've just alluded to, they've got to come and play. We get that early goal and their heads drop even further than they did the other night.
Kieran, what about you?
For me, I'll go slightly more pragmatic. I'll go 1-0. I think as soon as we get the goal, they stop playing completely. I think that kills the tie. I think we manage the game. we keep it 1-0, make substitutions in the second half, and just get through it. So don't think we could go and get a second and third if we really want to. Like I say, if we get the first, it kills it. But for me, I'll go 1-0. We get the first goal and kill the tie.
Well, I'll help us cover all bases and go for 2-0 then. So, either way, we're all covered now. But moving on now to the Leeds game, which we've got before we go back into the Champions League. Leeds, what do you expect of them? Obviously, we've seen today that they lost to Man United and they haven't really had their best of season so far. We know the sort of brand of football that they play. I think they're in 15th this season and, the fans don't seem to be too happy with the way that they're performing. Kieran, I'll start with you. What have you made of this Leeds side this season?
Hit and miss, really. Obviously, they came back into the Premier League after a long wait. For them, probably disappointed they didn't have fans there.
Yeah.
But they seem to cope with that really well in games. And when we saw from them the opening day, they give us a right good scare in the 4-3. But this season, I mean, well, they even came out and said it earlier in the year, but no one wants to say it. But second season syndrome. They are playing differently to last season. I don't know whether it's the fact they do all that they did all that running last season. But if you look at the actual stats and how far they run, they haven't been running as far this year. I mean, they were outrun by Everton last week in the league game. So there is something different going on. But the game itself, I'm not sounding arrogant, but there's so many things that point in the right direction for me for a heavy home win here. I mean, I just think the way Leeds play, they give up bucket loads of chances. Whether they sit back, which they won't, because they'll come. Even if they sat back, we're going to come up with bucket loads of chances. The fact that we're on a high, we keep winning games with decent result in Europe. City drop points. It's a night game, so the atmosphere is going to be right up. Against Leeds, who are going to bring. They'll fill the away end, 4 times over if they could. So for me, everything points in the direction of, for me, a heavy home win. I said this last week, against Norwich. I think we're due to beat a team a good 4-5-6 soon. I think this could be the one. They're involved in a proper tussle. I don't know if you saw the game today. I enjoyed it. It was a proper throwback game that today, and that will have took a lot from them. So to go from that to go to Anfield in 3 days as well, a quick turnaround. For me, I don't want to sound that arrogant, but the way we are, he won't. I don't think rotate as much. This will be closer to a first team than it normally would. I think. So, yeah, I'm very positive about this one, Taram.
What about you then, Dan? Kieran's very positive, but what have you made about Leeds this season, and what do you expect from the game?
It's difficult to sort of pinpoint Leeds this year because they're doing all very similar things to last season. I wouldn't say they've been found out necessarily. I think they've just been quite unlucky with injuries. And they have had some big injuries to key players. I know Luke Ayling was out for a long time. Patrick Bamford still seems to be out now.
Yeah.
And he was outstanding last season, I thought, considering his numbers weren't fantastic in the Championship.
Yeah.
But he had a really good year last year. So they have been unfortunate because in credit to them, credit in a way should go to them. People could call it naive. I quite like it because Bielsa has his way of playing, which is on the front foot, getting around the opposition and making life difficult for them. And it's very high intensity. And whoever comes in, and they have to bring in a lot of players, I'm talking teenagers in recent weeks, has done the same thing. So they're all drilled in a very similar way. And he refuses, no matter where he goes, to back away from his principles, which some people, like I say, will call naive. Some people call it stupid, especially when they're looking over his shoulder at relegation. But that's just the way he is. Very stubborn, very set in his ways. But all of them things mean that Liverpool are going to be licking their lips ahead of this game, quite frankly, because they do give up a lot of chances, a hell of a lot of chances. That's not going to change on Wednesday night. He's not suddenly going to say, okay, we need to double man mark Mohamed Salah. That's just not the way he goes. He's not going to do that. And we need to sit 10 men behind the ball and soak up pressure and hope. Nah, not going to happen. They're going to go man for man. They're going to harry us and press us and make us make quick decisions. And by doing that, they're going to leave plenty of spaces. And we should exploit them spaces with absolute freedom. So it's going to be really exciting, I think, Wednesday. And not only that, Kieran's dead right, because that game Leeds were involved in today, not only was it probably their greatest rivals in Man United, so that had a say. They also lost Robin Koch in midfield early on with concussion, and very much doubt he's going to play on Wednesday. And it was essentially played on a swimming pool because that looked properly hard work for the legs. And I know they're all immense athletes, and Leeds in particular, by the way, cover serious ground on a normal day. But that must have absolutely ruined some legs today. And he's got enough problems anyway, Bielsa, without that. So I actually think Leeds will be fine on a wider scale in terms of relegation. I don't see them going down. And I do think they've been really unlucky. But I don't think Wednesday night will be a game for them to target point-wise.
Can you see us making any changes in terms of the lineup for Wednesday, Dan?
Good question. We're probably going to have to in terms... I don't know if we will have to actually. Sorry, I was going to say Jota and Firmino, but neither started, did they?
Yeah.
So... Yeah, I can see changes. Sorry, I don't think Oxlade-Chamberlain gets another start. I don't see that happening whatsoever. I think both fullbacks return. Could well be another one for Canate, but it's so difficult to predict when he comes in at the moment.
Yeah,
and I've no issue with him being involved. And I suppose the front three is the most interesting. I personally would be going with Salah, Mane, and Diaz. I really like that front three. I think it's really exciting. The central figure in that front three is an interesting one. I think the interchange has got to be really rapid because I don't think any one of them three would ideally play in the middle. So they've got to be very fluid in the way they move. But it's Naby Keita is someone that's screaming in the back of my head to start this game. I think someone who's got the ball carrying ability that he has will be really important against Leeds. But I'll be honest with you, given the strength and depth we've got at the moment, I'm rather relaxed about team selection because there's not a lot that he could do wrong.
What about you then, Kieran? What are your thoughts on the team that we picked on Wednesday?
I think both fullbacks come back in. I don't think that's an issue. Centre backs. I don't know. You can't not rest Van Dijk, but again, if you were going to rest him, you probably look at this game, but I don't think you can because, like I say, we're in a position now. If goal difference is going to be massive. So for me, it's that balance of rotation against first things. I'd love to, like I say, we could put as many as we want past these, and it gives us a massive boost in goal difference. Leeds went to City in the year, got beat 7. Just before Christmas, so there's every chance of that happening again. Midfield, maybe I should probably want Henderson to have a rest before the cup final. I would suggest. I'd probably agree with Dan. Naby Keita, have a look in there. I think this should be a game for Harvey Elliott. I think you touched on it in the Leeds United game. It'd be nice for him to come back against Leeds. After what happened earlier in the season, so I have no issues with that. So Keita, Elliott, and if Fabinho or Thiago, go toss of a coin. Probably Thiago, just the way he controls the game, just to have that insurance policy. For me, I wouldn't change the front three. I think that if there's like we say, if there's ever a game to get goals, assists, whatever you want, it's this one. We should be all right. We should be getting a few here, so that'll be my team. A game we have to win, and for me, I think this is a chance to put a decent amount of goal difference over City. With 2 behind at the minute. I'd want us, just these small things to build up. If we win 5 or 6-0 again, puts pressure on them again. So. I'd like to go as strong as possible, obviously, with future games in mind.
Well, a win against Leeds puts us 3 points behind City. So, Kieran, what are we predicting for this game?
Honestly, if it all goes well, I think 6-0. I do. I honestly do. For me, everything points towards us hammering someone. I think this is it. Yeah, I'm going to look really stupid now. The next podcast is when we draw 1-1 at home. I mean, bring this back, that's absolutely fine. But everything just points to me to a strong home. So, yeah, I'll go 6.
Well, Twitter's going crazy already at that prediction. Dan, what about you? What are you predicted?
I mean, Kieran's swaying me, to be honest. I was. I mean, we all like a cricket score on this podcast, don't we?
Oh yeah.
Listen, I like Leeds. I'll be honest. I do like Leeds as a football club. I think they're one of them teams that the Premier League missed actually for a few years. And I'm saying all this because I like what they do now. I like Bielsa, so I struggle to predict such a scoreline because I think they're better than that. But I do agree with everything Kieran said. And especially at the minute with all the injuries, I think them at full strength, I'd really struggle to say something like that because I think they're a good side. But right now, with everything that's going on and the way we're playing, Kieran's probably about spot on. But I will be more pragmatic and I will give us that decent goal difference swing, which is so important because not only could we close the gap here, we could actually overtake that difference and talk about a double whammy. Like City must be looking at that if it happens, going, oh God. And I was thinking about City yesterday before they played, looking at our score line, going, oh yeah, great, yeah, Liverpool are getting beat. Dead happy, and then all of a sudden, in the space of 15 minutes, we're 3-1 up, and even that's a kick in the teeth for them, isn't it? So another kick in the teeth on Wednesday, and I'm going to say 4-0 Liverpool.
Big scorelines here. I think I'm going to have to go for a 3-0. I'm not as confident as you guys are, but I guess we'll have to find out next week where everyone will be joining us, hopefully, for our Thursday evening podcast about Liverpool's cup preview against Chelsea. So hopefully everyone comes and joins us for that. Hopefully, I know that Kieran sadly won't be joining us for that. I know Dan hopefully will be there, all kitted out and suited and booted.
Yeah, can't wait to see the suits, lads.
Evening, hopefully.
Ready for Wembley by then.
But thank you guys for this evening. Thank you all for joining us and listening to this week. And we'll see you next week where hopefully Liverpool have beaten Leeds 6-0 and we've closed the gap on Man City. Cheers. Thank you, everyone.